Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having the best day of your entire life today. I'm really excited for this video because one, at the time that I'm starting to film this, the second half of Bridgerton season 3 has not come out yet. So that is the inspiration for this video. By the time it goes up, I think it'll have been out for like a week maybe. I'm not loving season 3 as much as I love season 1. I actually don't think anything will ever be as good as season 1 was in my eyes. So excited to watch that, and I figured we might as well just fully embrace the Regency era vibes and read some Regency era romance. So I'm only going to be reading 2 books in this video. I think I'm going to go ahead and start with A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. This I think was published in 2022, and yes, this is an ARC, but I have not just been ignoring this on my shelves for 2 years. It was given to me as a gift, okay? In this book, we're following Kitty, and I believe both of her parents have died recently due to some type of illness. They left behind a lot of debts, and so she needs to go to London and find herself a wealthy man to marry so that those debt collectors have something to collect when they come a knocking in 12 weeks. So she's gonna go to London, she's gonna meet this guy in her courting prospects who totally sees through her little facade and is gonna do everything he can to prevent her from marrying some man for his money, and they're gonna fall in love and get married, and it's gonna be so good and so fun. And that's the pitch of this one. I'm sorry if that wasn't a very good pitch. The back is pretty brief, and especially because this is an ARC. So this has been on my shelves for a while, and I'm excited to finally get into it and have a reason to read it. And I'm also reading a Regency era romance that was actually written in the Regency era, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Now I know that this isn't technically like just a romance, but it is a romance at heart, right? All of Jane Austen's books are. So in this book, we're following 2 sisters, and again, kind of a similar circumstance. Their dad has died and they're left broke and homeless. They're taken in by some kind relatives, and they're gonna marry some husbands for some money because they don't got any. Obviously, this is not gonna be lighthearted and silly like this one. This is gonna be more serious, dealing with actual women's issues at the time. And I believe this is Jane Austen's first book. I think it says that at the beginning of this. Let me check for you. Yeah, I know one thing about Jane Austen's writing. I've only ever read Emma by her, so I don't know 100% if that's gonna like transfer over into this book, but I know that her writing is kind of hard for me to get into sometimes, so I'm a little nervous about it, but this has been on my shelves forever, since before I started college. That was so long ago. For reference, I graduated college last year. Anyway, so this needs to get read, and this is the perfect circumstance to do that. And so this is what I'm reading this week, and let's get started with the video. Hello, good morning. I was gonna stop and update you at 100 pages last night, but then I just kept reading because this is everything that I want it to be. So now I'm halfway through. We're only gonna have 2 updates for this book. I'm sure you don't actually care all that much. So this is a mix of all of my favorite things from Bridgerton and This Is Funny, and dare I say I'm liking this more than season 3. I mean, so far I've only watched the first half of season 3 because the second half won't be out till later this week, which you already know. I know I already glossed over the plot, but let me just recap for you really quickly. So our main character is Kitty, and her parents have died, and she has taken her second eldest sister with her to London for the London season. She's gonna find a wealthy husband. Her parents got very sick and died very suddenly from typhoid fever, I think. And the debt collectors are gonna come knocking in like 2 months. So she needs to find a man that can pay them off. Cecily, who is the sister that she's brought with her, recognizes kind of this very, very wealthy, affluent family that her aunt's like, you're gonna not have a chance with him at all. But they happen to run into each other at the park the next day, and kind of by chance, kind of by Kitty's engineering, they meet each other. Cecily is friends with this man's sister. She went to school back when the family still had money with her, and so they kind of have this like chance encounter of friendship. Kitty obviously is like, wow, this man is so wealthy, I'm gonna go for him. He's kind of dumb and he's a little silly, and he kind of doesn't see her ploys that are happening to get him to fall in love with her. His mother and his brother, not so much. She eventually kind of wins the mom over. It takes about like 75 pages for her to get in the mom's good graces. But the brother comes home, Lord Radcliffe, and he like kind of immediately sniffs her out, sees what she's doing. He's like, you don't feel anything for my brother, leave my family alone. And she's like, well, I'm sorry, you don't understand because you're rich, that I need to find someone and I'm gonna make him a good wife and I'm gonna do everything that I can to be a lady of society money for them, but I need someone to pay off the debts. And he's like, I'll make you a deal. I'll introduce you to polite society and I'll make you look good in front of everybody and I'll find you a suitable match as long as it's not my brother. And she's like, okay, deal. So they've started having these meetings every morning where she goes to his house, much to his dismay, because single women are not supposed to call on the houses of single men. And he's teaching her what she needs to know about high society because she has not been living in London. She's been living in the countryside. She doesn't have a lot of experience with this type of thing. And obviously she's not wealthy enough. So he's talking to her about which dances she needs to know, rules for dinner, rules for conversing. And it's just so good. And she has started to irritate him so much that he can't stop thinking about her, so he's starting to fall for her now. And I don't think she feels mutually yet. Overall, I'm having so much fun. And then also, every couple chapters, we get a letter correspondence between her and her sisters that she left at home. And that's also really fun. So anyway, I'm just having an absolute blast with this. It's funny, it's silly. Kitty is really kind of almost conniving, but like we love her for it, you know what I mean? So props to the author for writing a really beloved character for us to read. I'm just having so much fun. So I will talk to you guys when I finish this. A couple other news, events, things. In this video, I am working on doing things by myself. So there's a park that's kind of down by my grandma's house and I'm gonna go on a walk there tonight because the weather is finally nice. It's finally summery. I wanna go on a walk, so I'm gonna do it. I'm so scared of doing things by myself, but I really need to get better about it. Not so much like shopping, not so much going out to eat, but just like going on walks, doing things that are healthy for me in public. And I think part of it is just because I don't like to run into people that I know uncalled for. Like if I wanna go on a walk by myself, I don't want to have to stop and talk to anyone. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna work on getting over my fear of that. And I'll see you guys when I have an update on something. Don't look at my eyeliner. It's messed up on this side. It was a hot day. I sweat this wing off. I'm not fixing it to talk to you for 5 seconds. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. Right now, I am impulsively deciding that I am going to clean my color shelf. Not really impulsively, I just like wasn't planning to do it tonight, but it's definitely something that needs to get done. I haven't like dusted or cleaned my shelves at all since probably like October, so that needs to happen. I don't have energy to do both of my big shelves and my small shelves, but it's something that like desperately needs to happen, especially because I have all of these books that like aren't fitting on the shelves, which doesn't make sense because I have less books now than I did at the beginning of the year, but somehow they were all fitting at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to see if I can fix that situation and then obviously like actually clean it. So you're going to just get a nice little time lapse of me doing that right now. Apologies in advance for stopping the time lapse before this was done, but I just needed a second to figure out how I was actually going to do this because I knew that I wanted to change it up and do like dark light, and then also kind of sort by height. So that's what's happening now. I'm not going to show you my bottom shelf because my bottom shelf is always the ugly shelf, but you can see the little top of it here, where everything is just mismatched and it doesn't fit with each other. I didn't finish this yet, but a couple things I just wanted to mention quickly. This obviously is a period romance, right? So I'm on page like 220, I think. I'm almost done. And there has been like no on-page physical connection between Lord Radcliffe and Kitty. And I just wanted to I feel like I should mention that because I don't think that this is gonna be for people who like spicy romance because this period that this is written in, that's not a thing. I don't know if there will be any spice really in here at all. I'll obviously keep you posted, but they haven't even kissed yet, okay? And there's only like 80 pages till I'm done with the book. So I'm gonna finish this afternoon and I'll check back with you. but I just thought that that was an important detail to mention. And also, I can't really remember if I said this already or not in the last clip that I talked to you about, because I actually talked for kind of a long time in that, but this is really giving like the reverse season 2 of Bridgerton, which actually was my least favorite season, but like reading it on page is a lot better. So like, obviously if you watch Bridgerton, the second season, we have Anthony and he's dating Kate's younger sister or courting her, whatever. But it's not like a love match and she's really concerned and they hate each other and Kate doesn't think that he's right for her sister. And then Kate ends up falling in love with him. This is like the reverse of that because we have Kitty falling in love with Lord Radcliffe's younger brother and he hates the match, but he ends up falling in love with her. So anyway, we have he falls first. We have enemies to lovers. We have scandal. I'm sure it hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure it will. But the whole reason that I actually turned on the camera was because my flower bed outside, you guys, looks so good. I have this little bed on my porch. It's 1.5 feet by 3 feet. I'm not really sure. It's small, but it's full of mixed variety pansies and it's so pretty. And I just wanted to show you, and I'm probably going to include just a whole bunch of clips of it because it just is like thriving right now and I'm so excited about it. I finished this. I'm giving it 4 stars. I had so much fun with this, honestly. The only complaint I have is that I wish we had more than one scene at the very, very end of them kissing each other. Like, I could have used something in here, right? And that just didn't happen, but that's okay. And I think that this fits with the period theme, with the period piece that this is trying to be. I think that fits, right? But all I'm saying is I think it would have been more fun had we gotten to see them like getting more intimate with each other than one very chaste kiss on the last like 10 pages of the book. This essentially ends right upon their engagement to each other and we don't get any more than that. And so that's my kind of biggest gripe with this book, but overall this was so fun. This did enemies to lovers so well because they were actually enemies for more than 50 pages of the book. And I think that's an issue that I have with so many enemies to lovers stories is we sort of either don't have a good reason to be enemies or they jump from being enemies to lovers so quickly. And I think that this paced that out so well because they started out like really, really disliking each other and then their affections like grew very slowly for each other. So they got to kind of a neutral ground. And then they fell in love after the fact. So it wasn't just this instant jump that felt sort of out of nowhere. And I love that dynamic. This did it so well. I would definitely read from this author again. The third act conflict in here, there wasn't even really a third act conflict, honestly. And I greatly appreciated that. That's what made this top tier for me, honestly. This could have been a 5-star book had there been more connection between them. I would have loved for this to honestly be a little bit longer so we could have seen them you know, like establishing a life together. I'm not saying I needed a ton. I would at least have liked to see it get to the wedding. Like they just get engaged and then the book is over. We don't get to see the wedding. We don't get to have those vibes. And like, I get that this isn't what that was trying to do, and that's okay. I don't think every romance has to end with a marriage. Obviously it ends with a happy ever after, but I don't know, I just feel like in the vein of this story that might have fit a little bit better to end on the wedding rather than the engagement. I don't know, but I'm so glad to have finally read this and for it to like fit into this theme so perfectly. This absolutely fits into the Bridgerton theme and I would absolutely recommend this if you like Bridgerton but you don't like the amount of spicy scenes in there. Read this because 10 out of 10. I think that this did and achieved exactly what it was trying to do, and that's all we can really ask from a book at the end of the day. So I don't think I'm actually going to start reading Sense and Sensibility till Tuesday at the earliest. Also, it's not very nice outside today. It was like sunny and nice earlier, but now it's cold and it's supposed to rain. So I'm gonna postpone my hot girl walk until tomorrow. I'll include some footage. I'm holding myself accountable. I'm gonna do it. I really need to start utilizing all of these beautiful, stunning public spaces that I have available to me here. And I just feel guilty a lot of the time for living in such a stunning area and not taking advantage of that. So that's like top priority for me this week. There's a couple other things that I might do by myself this week to encourage this newfound journey that I'm taking in my life. And I'll see you when I have an update on Sense and Sensibility. Hi, good afternoon. Ignore my hair. I'm not sure what it's doing. I don't really have much of a book update for you, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Sense and Sensibility because I'm 50 pages in and I'm having like the time of my life right now. Do I think that this is Jane Austen's best work? No, I don't think so. At least not from the get-go. I really didn't know a ton about this book before I started reading it, other than, you know, the 5 sentences on the back that tell you kind of what it's about. But I'm really, really liking the characters. I love Marianne. I think she's funny and kind of goofy and silly, and I relate to her a lot. So props to Jane Austen for writing a 17-year-old character that I could relate to 210 years after the fact. The Regency era vibes are vibing and they're doing great. I love the kind of picture of this estate that these women have to leave. I love, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I love the brother's wife whose kind of idea it is to kick these women out and not really give them any financial funding as they go on their way and try to figure out what they're doing with their lives. I really like her and I think she is also really super funny. I will say I am having to read this a little bit slower than I normally read. I usually read like 2 pages in a minute, especially with font that's like this big, because that's a pretty large font. I just broke the spine. I'm so sad right now. I just felt it happen. Heartbreaking. Anyway, it was gonna happen either way. I haven't really found any passages that I want to annotate yet, but I think that that will increase as I go on. I think annotating classics is a really good way to help slow yourself down and help you understand and process what's happening. My only complaint about this so far is that the first chapter, we are kind of getting set up to how these women got in this kind of situation. And I just thought it was a little bit confusing because everyone is named Mr. Dashwood, like the uncle's named Mr. Dashwood, and then the dad is named Mr. Dashwood, and then the brother's also Mr. Dashwood. And I was just getting a little bit lost about which Mr. Dashwood was which. So I actually read the Sparks Notes synopsis just for the first chapter so that I could fully understand what was going on. But otherwise, I think this is so good. The chapters are really short. I was expecting longer chapters. I'm not really sure why, but each chapter is only like 5 pages, which is so wonderful, and it's also split into parts, which is a super fun time. I said I don't have a lot to say about this book, and I've been talking for 3 minutes, and I haven't even actually talked about the plot because I'm not really into the plot yet, and that's not even the reason why I actually turned on the camera. So I'm gonna set this down now. I'm gonna read more of this tonight, and I'll update you for realsies on like actual plot thoughts and character thoughts and writing thoughts tomorrow once I'm like a substantial chunk into this guy. But I actually turned on the camera because I just wanted to share in my journey of doing things by myself, which we already talked about earlier in the video. Tonight I went to an adult jazz class at the studio where I work. But listen, okay? I didn't take anyone with me. And yes, the instructor of the class is my best friend at work, okay? But she's teaching the class. She's not there to hang out with me. She's there to teach everyone. And so I went there by myself and I did the class kind of by myself. I'm really proud of myself for doing that. So I think I am doing excellent on this journey. Plus I got to wear, you can't really see it because I'm wearing shorts, but I got to wear this super cute leotard. I'm also wearing a sports bra underneath it, but it has like mesh paneling on the sides. It's just really fun and really good. And I just had a fun time. So I'm definitely going back to that next week because I'm really proud of myself. And I also think this week I'm house sitting for some friends that are going to be out of town, and they have like a really nice walking path, like community walking path behind their house. So I'm taking care of their dogs in their house, but I'm thinking like, now that I'm back in my work routine, by the way, I did just complete my first 2 days back as a waitress and they're going really good actually. I was nervous that I was gonna like hate it and not be having a fun time, but I'm actually like, I'm enjoying myself, and it's so nice to be back with all of my friends because I didn't really realize how much we like don't see each other, but now that I've been teaching dance for this last year, like my schedule is exactly opposite of what they do. Like the restaurant that I work at closes at 3, everyone's gone by 4. I go to work at 3:30 and I work until late at night, right? So I like don't really ever get to see my friends, but now that I'm back at work with my friends, it's like so fun and I'm having such a fun good time. But anyway, that is so off topic. What I'm trying to say is I am back in the schedule of waking up at like 4:30 in the morning, right? And the sun's coming up at like 5. So I'm thinking that something else I can do by myself to be productive is go on some walks on that path and like fully enjoy it. So I'll update you if I actually do that. I'm kind of scared because I like don't really, I mean, I know the area, I know the whole area of my town, but like I've never actually walked on that path before. So I'm a little scared just because I like don't know what to expect. And I also just don't want to see people. Like that's my biggest issue is I don't want to see anyone I know. But I'm going to be brave and I think I'm going to do it. So I'll keep you posted on that. I'll talk to you about this once I've read more of this. And that's really all I have to say right now, for real.
It is surely a wonderful time for the happy couple.
Friends, hello. We have kind of a long update for this little section of the video, so sorry in advance about that. But we have to talk about the second half of season 3 of Bridgerton, which just came out today, which I'm sure you just enjoyed watching in the little montage that I did of all the things that I've been doing over the past couple of days, which have been honestly super busy. Here's what I think. I think the first half of season 3 was way better than the second half of season 3. And I think that season 1 was way better than season 2 and season 3. Am I still gonna watch the show? Yes, but I kind of just didn't appreciate how many different storylines we were kind of bouncing around in. Like, I know we have to set up more dynamic things going on in the TV show now that we know all of the characters fairly well. I enjoyed Francesca's storyline, but I was like, I want this to be more about Penn and Cullen, less about Lady Whistledown, less about Violet finding her man for this next chapter of her life, less about Kate and Anthony because I know everyone loves them, but I'm sorry, I don't like them as a couple. Less about Benedict's like exploration of his sexuality. Like, why? Benedict's gonna get his own season, and I feel like we could have just saved that for his season, you know what I mean? So anyway, overall I'd give it like a 7 out of 10 overall for season 3. And with that, now I can segue into Sense and Sensibility, which I think like 250 pages in. I just finished part 2 of the story, and I'm really enjoying how this is making me slow down and really have to focus as I'm reading. That's something that I always forget that I love about classics, because they really encourage you to be thoughtful and to read in between the lines, and I'm just really enjoying that this book is doing that. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth today a little bit with the audiobook. I've only read like 100 pages today, but I was just waiting until I got to the end of part 2 to update you. And obviously the audiobook is public domain because this is public domain. So I could have read this like online for free if I wanted to, you know what I mean? And you definitely can if you're interested. So I've been doing chores, listening to the audiobook, and then I've kind of left it going as I've sat down to read as well. So like doing both at the same time, which I always think is kind of fun with a classic. I am loving how we're seeing Marianne develop into the sensibility role in the story. And obviously Eleanor is then developing into the sense of the story. And we're going through lots of different drama with the potential love matches, lots of like secrets and weird connections between other love interests in the story. And I think that that's fun and definitely helps keep the pace up, because obviously if we didn't have all of these like secrets, betrayals, oddities, this would be so boring. At this point in the book, I know, like, I've established as the reader who I want each of these women to end up with, and I'm sure that, you know, eventually they will end up with those matches, because that's who Jane is writing them to have the ideal match with, and kind of coming to terms with the theme that the sense partner needs a sensibility match and the sensibility partner needs a sense match, right? And I just think that that's really fun. We're also super atmospheric, rainy season in London, English cottage countrysides, teenage angst from 200 years ago, and what's not to love? I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna finish this, probably not tonight because I am reading this slowly. I'm taking my time with it and I'm creating a full page spread in my bullet journal for it. But I would expect to hear from me tomorrow at some point because I don't have work for 3 whole days now. Friends, hello. I just finished this and I'm giving it 3.5 stars, which feels kind of funny, but I didn't love this, honestly. The first half of the book is very heavily about Marianne being a very emotional person and Eleanor kind of trying to comfort her while she's going through sort of her own heartbreak situation. But then the second half of the book is more about both of them together, and then the last like 2 chapters are just all of a sudden all about Eleanor, and then everything ends up so good and everyone lives happily ever after forever, which is to be expected. I think all of Jane Austen's books have happy endings per se. But I think we could have dealt with a little bit more of an imperfect ending because there were so many things going wrong for these women throughout the book. And then for everything to just wrap up and be tied with a nice little bow felt a little bit disingenuine to me. Now, I can never write anything this good, but this is her first book, and I think her writing does get better as we move on. I don't exactly know the order of her titles, but this is definitely the first one, and I feel like you can kind of tell. Like, I feel like it's giving 1800s debut vibes. I really enjoyed Eleanor as a character. Obviously, that's kind of Jane's protagonist, Jane's lens that she is telling us this story through, her kind of self-insert character, if you will. And I like that the book ends in a good way for her. Speaking in modern terms, I would kind of compare her storyline to Francesca's from Bridgerton, if that's helpful, since that's kind of what inspired this whole video in the first place for me to be reading Regency era books. She's definitely more on the reserved side of things. She doesn't constantly need to be expressing tons of emotion. She knows that she's not the center of attention and she's not trying trying to be. So kind of a parallel there between those two. And then I don't know who I would compare Marianne to from Bridgerton. Maybe Hyacinth, honestly, because she's just really funny and she's constantly, she has no filter. And I thought that that was fun. Good juxtaposition between the sisters. Again, could have lived with a little bit more conflict at the end rather than a perfect resolution, but also times were tough in this period. So if Jane needed to write a happy ending to bring some joy into her life, I completely respect that. I'm really glad to have finally read this and experienced it. I read, I would say, the last like 75 pages probably companionably with the audiobook. I don't know if that's a word, sorry. But things just sort of kind of go off the rails a little bit, and then just randomly everything's fine. And so I just needed the audiobook to kind of encourage me to get through that. Last thing I want to say before I end this vlog is I did go on my little walkie on the walking path that I was telling you guys about this morning. I went for an hour-long walk. I did 2 miles. Obviously, I was walking like super slow. And I just had like the most fun, nice little time. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed this content and my kind of impromptu inspiration for this. And I'll see you with another video soon. Bye.